Hi, my dearest family. Today we are going to be discussing a little bit of a sensitive topic in our chart, and that's going to be connected to infidelity. So, what indications do we have in the birth chart that we are going to be cheated on, or potentially we are cheating on someone? You know, nowadays, 70% of the marriages end unfortunately due to maybe incompatibilities or miscommunications or even infidelity. So I wanted to show you ways of looking at in your natal chart what might be an indication of you being cheated on. I would like to point out that I'm going to be listing at least 15 indications. One indication is not necessarily an indication, okay? But if you have got multiple signatures of these, then unfortunately this might be showing up as you becoming potentially a victim of infidelity. By the way, I have got still the Black Friday promotion running for another 1.5, 2 days. So if you would like to have a reading with me, or you would like to deepen your knowledge a little bit further, then you might want to visit my website, AstroViktor.com, and you can look at all of my 200 webinars that I have prepared in the last 7, 8 years, as well as, of course, you can have a professional consultation with me as well, so that we can kind of like navigate your 2026, or simply just want to be understanding yourself a little bit more or deeper. And of course, you can also purchase my yearly forecast for 2026. Each rising sign is about 2.5 hours long. So if that's something you would like to do, then go ahead and grab it. But now let's have a look at some of these indications. And I'm not going to be talking to you about them in like importance, like a particular order of importance. I'm just going to be telling you what indications we've got here. So let's get started with number one. It could be, for example, a challenging aspect between Venus and Mars. So I'm talking about a square or an opposition. Even it could be conjunction as well. Why? Well, firstly, Venus represents love, relationships, and romance, and Mars represents passion, the drive, our sexual desire. So when we have got a hard aspect between them two, it can signify an internal conflict between affectionate love and sexual desire, and kind of like making it difficult to find complete satisfaction with one person, especially if these planets are in mutable signs. So the mutable signs are Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius. Let's have a look at number two. Planets in the seventh house and the fifth house. The seventh house governs marriage and committed partnership, and the fifth house governs romance and casual affairs. So, if we have got malefic planets, for example, or highly stimulating planets like Mars, Uranus, or Neptune, especially, or having an aspect to the seventh house ruler and the fifth house ruler to Mars, Uranus, or Neptune can indicate, unfortunately, relationship instabilities or unexpected changes to the relationship, or even the tendency toward multiple romantic pursuits. Number three would be if the fifth house ruler and the seventh house ruler are in kind of like a bad dialogue. So again, a hard aspect. So imagine that, for example, you have got Virgo on the seventh house cusp, and you've got Cancer, for example, on your fifth house cusp, and they are forming a tough aspect. It can be an opposition, potentially a square as well. Number four, if you have got the south node or the north node in the seventh house. One of the reason is because, especially with the north node, which is always an indication of a strong desire, often it's an unconventional type of energy. It might be yearning for a partnership or kind of like an intense connections with others. And sometimes it could be leading to seek it outside the established commitments. And the South Node, which is more to do with detachment and separation, can also create, of course, dissatisfaction or certain type of detachment within the marriage as well. So we might be looking for someone else. Number five, if we have got Venus or Mars in air or fire signs, especially Gemini, Aquarius, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I left Libra out of the picture because that's the sign of relationship, but even it can be there. I mean, these signs are often associated, with the love for freedom or variety or excitement. These signs slightly bit more flirtatious, or they have got a bit of an impulsive nature. Gemini Venus in particular is often cited for seeking mental stimulation and getting easily bored, for example, in certain type of commitments. Now let's have a look at some of the outer planet signatures. And therefore, number six could be a hard aspect involving Neptune to Venus or to the seventh house ruler. Now, Neptune governs illusions, confusion, secrets, idealization. And hard aspect with Neptune can always lead to escapism or unrealistic expectations towards a partner or deception or involvement in secret relationships that feel spiritual or fated. Number seven would be hard aspects involving Uranus to Venus or the seventh house ruler. Uranus signifies sudden change as well as freedom. It's a rebellious type of energy. It breaks away from any type of traditions. So often, what happens with Uranus and the seventh house ruler or Venus aspects that we have got this need for excitement in our connections. And maybe we have got a tendency to suddenly break relationship bonds and to engage in some type of unconventional, surprising affairs. Also, number eight would be a very strong influence in the 12th house, especially if the ruler of the seventh house or Venus, Mars in the 12th house. The 12th house represents isolation or hidden activities. So having Mars in the 12th house or North Node in the 12th house, even Venus, can represent secret relationships or certain type of actions that we want to keep hidden from our partner. Number nine would be strong influence in the eighth house. So again, the seventh house ruler in the eighth house, for example, or Venus in the eighth house. The reason why, because the eighth house governs deep intimacy, and also it is connected to hidden matters as well. So if we have got certain type of challenging planets here, it could indicate something intense, something secretive. The eighth house is often about the merging of the souls as well. So there is a lot of intimacy involved there. Of course, Jupiter and Mercury might be playing a significant role, and I want to talk a little bit more about Mercury as well. So that would be number 10. Jupiter's malefic connection to romance, or especially in the houses of desire, and the desires are connected to 3, 5, 7, or 11th house, can indicate that someone is going to be going sideways. Why? Because Jupiter is the planet of expansion, morals, justification. It's usually a benefic planet. However, there is a greedy side to Jupiter also. So therefore, it has got that desire to different type of relationship experiences. So, for example, if you have got Jupiter and Venus stuff aspect in your chart, this could indicate, for example, infidelity. And number 11 would be a very challenged moon in relationship to the planets of lust and desire. Now, the moon governs the mind, our emotional needs. And if the moon is, for example, poorly aspected by a North Node or Mars or by the seventh house ruler, then, especially if it's connected to Mars and Venus, then it can actually indicate that the boundaries, the moral boundaries are somehow compromised. And maybe I'm going to be looking for a emotional or physical connection elsewhere, especially if I do not get it at home. Now, like I said, I wanted to talk to you about Mercury a little bit more because Mercury is the planet of tricks, Mercury represents duality. So, especially if Mercury is connected to Neptune in our natal chart, that could be kind of like blurring the mental boundaries. It could be self-deception as well, of course, but it could bring a lot of fantasies. It's kind of like creating our secret worlds. So therefore, having Mercury in the eighth house or the 12th house can actually indicate mental involvement in certain type of secrets or hidden activities. Or if Mercury is connected to Venus or Mars, especially, then that combination can show that, I'm kind of like over intellectualizing my sexual desires. So number 12 that I would mention is if you have got an out of bound Venus in your chart. Now, if out of bound planets are a bit of over your head and you have no knowledge about them, basically this is a declination of the planet from the equator towards south or the north. There's a distance, what the sun covers, the path. It looks like this. And then when they go outside of the norm, that's what we're going to call as an out of bound Venus. So it goes outside of the sun's path, basically. So therefore, the king is not monitoring what is happening. So we might be doing something secretive, for example. So out of bound Mars or out of bound Venus can indicate such a thing. Now, why Venus? Venus represents lust and hedonism. Venus governs pleasure, love, and attraction. So when it's out of orb, it could be these drives can be expressed without the usual kind of like moral codes or your own self-imposed boundaries. So therefore, it could indicate extreme desire for pleasure, extreme desire for luxury, extreme desire for lust as well. So out of bound Venus is kind of like breaking the rules. Oh, I don't want to get married. Or I want to be in an unconventional relationship. I'm going to have unconventional ways of relating to others. So somehow we go against the societal grain. Out of bound Venus can actually represent such things as well that someone has got unusual tastes, for example. So, like, there is eccentricity involved there. And of course, this might even indicate that we have got that extreme need for freedom as well. And that's the core quality of out of bound planets altogether. Now, I wanted to share some asteroids that might be actually also further indications of infidelity in the natal chart, and I'm going to be talking to you about three of them to be precise. So one of them is going to be Lilith, the black moon Lilith, which is the dark feminine principle. So Lilith represents the primal, untamed feminine energy, rebellion against traditional roles, the part of us that refuses to be suppressed in a relationship. Now, in myth, Lilith was Adam's first wife who left Eden because she refused to be kind of like a subservient to Adam. So if we have got Lilith in the seventh house, for example, which is the house of partnership, it could indicate a deep primal conflict within the marriage or the partnerships, and it could lead to certain type of forbidden, unconventional, or outlawed type of actions against something that is outside the established norms. Another signature with Lilith could be if Lilith is in conjunction to Venus or Mars, that's going to be intensifying the drive for satisfaction, the sexual satisfaction. You might be wondering what orb we would give here, and potentially I would say a 3-degree orb is the highest one that I would use. Or even a strong Lilith in synastry can indicate such things as well. I mean, at the end of the day, Lilith is the representation of seduction, taboos, and certain type of sexual secrets as well. But of course, on the other hand, it also represents some very karmic connections between two people. Sometimes that bypasses logic and kind of like the common sense, basically. Now, the next asteroid potentially you might want to be looking at is Eros, which is our primal erotic desire. Eros was the Greek Greek god of passion and desire, not just love. So Eros in our chart can pinpoint how and where your basic kind of like irresistible attraction lust is ignited. So therefore, Eros in the eighth house, Eros in the fifth house, or Eros in conjunction to Venus or Mars can indicate, unfortunately, infidelity. And the last asteroid that I would mention is Juno, which is the asteroid of commitment partnership. Poor Juno was cheated on millions of times by Zeus. So Juno in hard aspect to Jupiter, for example, again, an opposition or a square can indicate overindulgence in relationships, and it can indicate a feeling that my commitment is constantly being challenged by the desire for more freedom and kind of like experience, basically. Jupiter is the planet of experience, or Juno in the fifth house can indicate such energy as well, because that's the house of romance and affairs. So suggesting a potential blurring of lines between, casual romance and committed partnerships. So there is an unconventional energy to it. Of course, this might be a more of an indication if it's, for example, in air signs or fire signs, like I said earlier. So to summarize on the asteroids a little bit, Lilith, which is the need for unconventional freedom and the refusal to be contained by just one partner. Eros, which is the drive for some type of intense transformative loss, kind of like the transcendent experiences in our romantic life. And then Juno, it's a challenge to commitment. So this is the reason why I would pinpoint these three asteroids. I mean, unfortunately, like I said, it's important to mention that these indications are, one indication is not an indication, but having multiple signatures might show, up as you becoming a victim of infidelity. And when we are talking about this victim and the perpetrator, in astrology, it is often connected to Neptune. So Neptune in the seventh house, where it can indicate that I'm going to get somehow deceived in a relationship by the partner, or the ruler of the seventh house being in the 12th house. Like I said, Venus, Mars, hard aspect, or Uranus in the seventh house, or Lilith in the seventh house, often indicates, unfortunately, such thing as we are going to become the victim of infidelity. So do let me know if you unfortunate and have any of these signatures. And I would love to hear your own experiences as well, what you think the signatures for infidelity could be indicated by in your natal chart. Thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, please press like and subscribe to the channel. And if you wish to have a reading with me, then go and grab your seat with the 50% discount that I'm offering right now for another 1.5 days. Thank you and have a lovely weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.